folks, this video is to explain a little about extraversion and introversion, since it's actually one of the more difficult preferences to identify. In Psyche-Type terms, extroverts are object-oriented, that is, they derive energy from the object. Introverts are subject-oriented, which means they derive energy from their own internal reflection upon the object. This energy is what Jung termed libido. When you no longer have libido, you are dead. So your libido is what makes you get out of bed in the morning and propels you to do whatever else you enjoy doing. Don't confuse this with Freud's degenerate preoccupation with sex. Libido refers to psychic energy. Here's a nice little pic I found that shows the flow of this energy for introverts and extroverts. People often have difficulty identifying the EI preference, and there are some unfortunate stereotypes out there in relation to this dichotomy. For example, that extroverts are loud and outrageous, or that introverts are shy and antisocial. So let's look at what extraversion and introversion are really about, which is what energizes and motivates you. Extroverts are object-oriented, which means that the extrovert's energy flows outward. You can feel this when you're listening to an extrovert present or teach, because the extrovert is able to throw energy out into the room and engage others quickly and actively. This doesn't mean that introverts can't be good presenters or teachers, but it's a whole lot easier for extroverts to work a crowd, because they're energized and motivated by that interaction. An extroverted performer will be so energized by a performance that they could happily walk back on and do it all again. This is not true of introverts. The world has many introverted performers, Michael Jackson for example, but the energy of a crowd is ultimately draining for the introvert, who will pretty quickly need to retreat for some downtime to recharge their batteries. Introverts, like myself, are subject-oriented, which means we're energized by our own subjective or internal reflection. So for me, the idea of spending time reading, hiking, meditating, or just thinking is way easier than the idea of partying or having to interact, particularly with a lot of people that I don't know. As a kid, I hated having to even pick up the phone and call people I didn't know. I would avoid making phone calls, even really mundane ones, because the idea of cutting into someone's energetic space and having to deal in that moment with whatever came back, without the opportunity to reflect, was just scary. But it takes a bit of practice to pick up on a person's energy preference, because in different situations, extroverts can look like introverts and introverts can look like extroverts. An extrovert who is experiencing stress or undergoing a period of personal growth, for example developing their introverted functions, can appear to have more of an inward focus. A good friend of mine who is ENTP experienced a period of depression in which he retreated into his inferiors, making him appear almost ISFJ to those who didn't know him well. So you can see here again why an indicator is never a substitute for a skilled Psyche-Type practitioner. Similarly, an introvert in their arena, that is, an introvert sharing something they've already invested a lot of time and contemplation in, can appear extroverted. I got a comment on one of our older videos suggesting I was ENTJ, because when I talk about type, a subject I've done a lot of study in, I can appear to have the energetic commitment of an extrovert, but there's just no way that I can sustain that. So I'll use myself as an example now to show you a few hallmarks of the introvert. You'll notice, for example, that right now I'm reading. As an introvert, I have great difficulty chatting away ad hoc for more than a couple of minutes. I can memorize a speech and deliver it. I can use a teleprompter. And in conversation with a few close friends, I might be able to chat at length on a subject that I know a lot about, which is what I mean by an introvert being in their arena. But ordinarily, I need regular time to pause and reflect. By writing what I want to say first, I get to do that reflection and refine my thoughts beforehand. You see, even talking to the camera right now requires me to focus my energy upon an object. So unless an introvert does it for a living, like a newsreader, they will soon have to retreat from the object to consult their own thoughts and reflections. You can also look for this in conversation by observing how often a person needs to look away from you when speaking. Obviously, this won't apply when someone is deliberately avoiding you. I'm talking about an ordinary conversation between friends. Better still, ask your friend a profound question. If they're an extrovert, they'll be ready with an answer and will be happy to talk it out as they go. If they're an introvert, they'll immediately disappear into their own thoughts, and it may take them a little while to come back with an answer. A good friend of mine, who is ENTJ, used to find it quite disconcerting when I would gaze at the wall behind her occasionally when talking. Until I explained to her the difference in our energy focus, she kept looking backward, trying to work out what had caught my attention. For me, as an introvert, the energy required in maintaining eye contact, particularly when I'm the one speaking, is debilitating. Some other examples. If you're an introvert, you probably sat in class at some time when a teacher has surprised you with an impromptu question. Danielle, what does introversion mean? And even if you actually know the answer, you'll feel your energy immediately drain as you stumble like an idiot deer in the headlights. This is where teachers who know type have a great advantage, because you'll always get the best out of an introvert if you can give them time to reflect first rather than insisting they answer in the moment. And to be fair to the introverts out there, this isn't because we're slow or dumb. Extroverts will jump in and answer a question faster, but their answer will also be whatever first springs to mind, unfiltered. So it may be right, it may be wrong, but what matters for the extrovert is maintaining the flow of energy and engagement. In summary, extroverts aren't loudmouths, they simply share their thought processes outwardly. And introverts aren't conceited, they just like to consider everything before they share their thoughts with others. Hope this helps. Catch you later.